And there she be, right? Okay, now. So everybody, welcome to Free to Heal. And so we're going to talk tonight about self-esteem. And I was just saying it's related to two things: your self-respect, your feelings of worth. It's the pride you take in who you are and what you do. These feelings are based on your own opinion and not on what others may tell you. So if you go back to the conversations we were having before about your self-concept, what would you think about yourself if your self-concept is all negative about yourself? You're not going to have much self-esteem. You're not going to feel good about yourself if you're constantly thinking bad about yourself. That's the first place it shows up. And then respect from others, feelings of pride resulting from the respect other people have or show for you. When you are respected by others, your own feelings of importance and pride grow. And right there, I'm gonna stop sharing because that, for me, I want to touch on that with from this standpoint. We talked previously also about masking. We talked about self-concept. We talked about to people who have been involved in gangs and people who got involved in gangs. And if you think about that last one, that self-esteem, how people who got involved, a lot of times they felt like it gave them some importance. Remember, we talked about your, what you felt like you needed to do, spending money on lunch and all the different things that we think about that we're proud of. And when the respect that people show us, there are a lot of people that feel excited because somebody's showing them respect based on who they are or who they've been involved with, okay? And that is one of the big attractions for gangs, is that there is a sense of belonging and a sense of, I get some respect because people think I am somebody, or they respect, or if nothing else, they fear the gang. But think about this. Your self-esteem, it has two parts to it. And think about if parents raised their children that they had a good self-image of themselves, how much harder it would be for anybody to make your children feel like they needed acceptance or like they needed to be part of a gang or part of anything to in order to feel good about themselves. I want to give you another example that people don't think about often. You think about teams, sports teams. It's one of the reasons why people are fanatical about sports. We can all wear the same colors. I can feel like I'm a part of something bigger than just me. And when my team wins, it makes me feel good about me. They sell the dream all the time. But the most important thing is what you feel about yourself, because that is going to even color. For example, I tell you guys a story all the time about the guy who was in the group and his grandmother called him ugly all the time as a pet nickname. And he really liked this girl. And the first time that the girl told him that he was attractive, he no longer trusted her from that moment forward, because of what had been fed into him in a loving way, but it still caused him to think she wasn't trustworthy, because what he thought about himself, with the seed that had been planted, told him, oh no, you're ugly, so there's no way in the world that she could be telling me the truth. So just think about if parents had their children believing from day one that they're okay, right? That parents put in their kids a sense of, you don't need to be validated, or you don't need nobody else's opinion to make you think good of yourself. You can do that on your own. There are things about you that if parents instill that in their children growing up, again, they feel good about themselves. And it's harder for people.
Damn gangbangers come from.
Huh?
That's where a lot of them damn gangbangers come from. Their parents gangbanging, and they think it's right. It's like that crappy ass music I tell you about that it pisses me off. You will see some guy going down the road with his wife and two kids in the back seat and listening to this music saying women are all whores and bitches. What the hell are you putting in that kid and the kid singing to it like?
They know the words.
Yeah.
They know the words. And listen, whether we know it or not, it's one of the things I think why society as a whole is so violent. Because even in movies and stuff that you see, it's the violence that
I
they
like
always
violent movies.
listen, but still, no, but I want
But
you
I
to follow
don't-
the train of thought though. I want you to follow my
Okay.
train of thought from what you're saying. It matters what you say to the kids and what you say around them,
Yeah,
because then you wonder why they get to be teenagers and why they're coming up and why they're violent
that's right.
and all of that. And it matters.
And a lot of it is where the racial shit comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're kids when they're small, they don't think about that. They play with anybody.
Yeah.
But as soon as the parents start saying, "Well,
Yeah, this one or that one or
that
the
one
other.
or
Yeah.
this one," and
Yep.
so the kid's thinking, "Well, my parents ain't telling me wrong," you know.
Well, see, you got
No, they don't.
You got to think about this also. It ain't the parents always, because it's lack of parents
Right.
can cause bad self-esteem. The fact that the schools is knocking down the self-esteem. Like when I was in school, I was smart, but I would never answer the question because I didn't want the other kids to know I was smarter than them.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was the teacher said, "You'll never answer the question. You ain't gonna be nothing but a janitor."
Well, I was dumb, and I just kicked their ass.
But see, that's a self-esteem we're talking about.
Right.
And that's why I later on went back when I got my first business. I went back and seen that teacher and told him, "Oh, the janitor got a business now."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because he had me pegged because I didn't want to answer the question, thinking that I was too dumb to answer it. And that's low self-esteem. That'll keep driving into a man to where he don't get no boost from nowhere else because mom and papa working and they ain't at home, or mom and papa smoking and they ain't at home.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And that right there, you ain't got nobody to boost you up because look at what you're around. Look at what you're raised with.
But then think about this. What was the real reason, that you didn't want everybody else to know you were smarter than them, right? There was something going on in
Because-
society, and let me tell you, society was not, telling people in minority communities that being smart was the cool thing to be.
No.
That was not what has been pumped into kids in poor communities to be smart. That wasn't you didn't want to be that. They were the nerds.
Do you know? Yeah, but do you know in school, in grammar school, anyhow, because that's as far as I ever went, was the girls were the smart ones in the class. It wasn't the boys; it was the girls.
But it was,
Well, yeah, but see, the
But
boys.
everybody expected the girls to be smart.
Right.
we had a stigma.
Right.
And the stigma was if we were smart, we got beat up on, you got picked on, nobody wanted to mess with you. Now, all of us in the crew together, we dumb as a box of rocks. Everybody looking at each other like, okay, pick up that pebble first, and throw it at the window.
But see, the thing about it is, the truth of the matter is, most of y'all wasn't as dumb as you trying to play
No.
like you was. You were dumbing yourself down to meet the standard so that you could get that part of the definition of self-esteem, respect from others.
Right.
That's what I was saying, why it's so important. Like being down and being all of that, it caused you to dumb yourself down when you wasn't never dumb. All the stuff that you've done and survived. Let's be clear, like all the things you survived, there's no way you could have been dumb. Just like you, just because you can't read, there's nothing dumb about you. You could not survive all of these years with as limited an education as you have if you was dumb. The two don't go together. I don't care what nobody say. It just don't function like that. In other words, you have to have more creative ways to retain information and do things. You got to create all kind of systems.
People couldn't understand how I had so many righteous driver's license and social security cards. I mean, I had them issued. It wasn't like I was printing up shit.
No, yeah, you
But
went to,
every state I went to, I got a driver's license and I got a social security card.
and the thing about it is, again, these are, and we're not advocating that, y'all, just so y'all know, I wouldn't advise you to try that shit at home. I see your hand, Cheryl. I wouldn't advise you to try that at home, y'all. But what I will say is, again, if you think about the way that his brain had to function in order to put him in position to do those things in other states, you got to come up with other creative ways of doing things when you can't do it the way that everybody else does it. And that takes ingenuity. Necessity is the mother of invention. You had to find other ways and more creative ways than the average Joe on the street.
You know what I used to do? You know, like now when a kid's born, they're issued a social security card.
Right.
It wasn't back when we were. Just like our birth certificate when we were born was handwritten.
Right.
I used to add letters, subtract letters,
Oh man.
and I'd put it on a copy machine, and when it looked good, that's what
I
used.
don't think we should be talking about that anymore. No. Even though look, what's funny is right now you can't even do that now because it's all typing, right? But at that time, yes, you could do that. But you know what? Missy, you wanted to say something.
Two things. One that I saw my nephew who was about to turn 58. When he was 5, he was how to read. But when he got up, when we moved where we live now, and the kids used to come in the house, he would hide his books in the closet because he didn't want them to know he read. But about people in your neighborhood, when I was in elementary school, I went to a really old house, and now that I'm thinking about it, probably was her great grandmother. And when the great grandmother would, before she would come out, they would say to me, they'd walk me back across the street because I couldn't play with her when the lady came. And then release dates for California inflation relief payments now just announced. We've got that just in time for the holidays. Oh, nice. Bike lanes are going to be installed on this business.
No sound.
Maybe don't come out to like years later. Hard to believe it, you know.
No sound, Noreen.
If that's the case, then you're okay with it. But if it's not true, that's fucked up for the guy. Pedro Rivera.
Trust me, my mom would stick soap in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
She was really hard on being president.
Mm-hmm.
But then when Georgie got kidnapped by a Spanish guy, what they released from a mental institution, and then Judy got pregnant by one.
Uh-oh. Shit start changing, huh?
You know what? I think it did a little.
I'm sure it did. Listen, let me tell you something. Listen, I'm sure it did. Excuse me, because if you are victimized by somebody that look a certain way, yeah, you're gonna feel some type of way about them people.
Yeah.
I think to me that's
But
that's normal though.
But
that's
I
normal.
never heard her.
Put a whole group of people down for
Right.
Yeah, and that's a and look,
But
and it's
I noticed
yeah
that when the Spanish.
Yeah, she might get a little nervous, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, but well, if you got, that makes sense to me. But I want to go back to this. So you will have healthy self-esteem if you respect yourself, if you take pride in your abilities and your self-concept, and if you're respected by those who know you. So it's a few things. You'll have healthy self-esteem if you respect yourself. Take pride in your abilities and your self-concept. Because remember, all of these things go together. So, for example, you don't have to be good at everything to have self-esteem. I think it's really smart when we know that we're not good at everything. Like when we can admit that, it's easier. I try to tell people, so for example, there's some things technology-wise, I'm just not good at. I'm not good at marketing. I'm not good at any of those things. At like publicizing, that kind of stuff, I don't do that well. So the guy who had been helping us at first, he would say, "Oh, Noreen, just do so and so and so and so," and he would rattle it off as if he had said A, B, C, D, E. Okay, and I would be like, "Yeah, but you gonna have to say that for somebody at a different way, because you gotta talk to me like I'm a 2-year-old. Because I don't understand what you said sounds simple to you, but to me, I was here blah 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 blah. That's maybe Mr. Steffens like all that food stuff you was doing. It was like, okay, I know it makes sense to you, but it's not making no sense to me. Okay, I'm not hearing what you hear. It sounds good and easy to you because that's what you do. But I'll be like, no, you know. He's like, but you do this and you do that. I said, but it don't have nothing to do with the fact that I don't do that good. And I'm telling you up front, if you want us to communicate on this issue, you better go back to talking like you talking to a 2-year-old. You gotta break it down, and you gotta go slow.
You know what?
You gotta go slow.
You might
right?
well go talk to a 2-year-old because they probably know more
Oh,
about it. than
you
do.
right, exactly. No, literally in
I
that
know.
area, they sure do. The 2-year-olds know more than I do with this computer and all this kind of stuff. I was telling him earlier. So one day my granddaughter had my phone, and I kept hearing her say, "It's not recording. It's not recording." But I'm not thinking. I don't even know what I was thinking. But then I looked at my phone again, and there was like 20 some odd pictures of her making all kinds of faces. Like she was, but I guess it got full and it wasn't taking no more pictures, so it wasn't recording. She was right, it wasn't recording. But I didn't know what she was talking about. And she's 3. So like you said, that's probably where I need to go, is to the 2-year-old.
Yeah.
Right? But so, but I'm not good at everything. And I'm not gonna sit here and try to make nobody believe that I'm good at everything, because I'm just freaking not good at everything. And the good thing about it is knowing that I'm not good at everything also allows me to seek help in the areas that I'm not good, and surround myself with people that are good in what I'm not good at.
Yep. I believe that.
You know?
Well, my thing is, I surround myself with smart people
That's always a plus.
because I don't want to be the smartest cookie in the batch. But along with that,
You don't want to be the
they
dumbest
challenge
either.
my way of thinking.
Yeah.
And I like to be challenged in that,
Mm-hmm.
because there's always a different
Put
way.
this down in case somebody looking, because I don't want them getting no publicity extra. They're not paying me,
Yes, ma'am.
and they're not paying you.
And
You know what?
and what it is this. It boils down to always have an open view when you're dealing with self-respect and self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times we kill our own self-esteem by being locked into one certain way
I want to tell you,
all the time.
I swear I got to tell you that is literally the most important thing you're ever going to know.
Mhm.
Is when you lock yourself into whatever you think about yourself, you are the one fastest that's going to kill your self-esteem. You're going to kill the concept you have, because you only have the limitations you place on yourself. And if you believe you can't, then you can't.
No.
And when you insist that it's only one way, I can tell you from experience, what it does is it brings a lot of pain, because you get boxed in. The relationship that I was in, everything on paper looked like it should work based on who we were, those kinds of things, age, everything. Everything
Right.
was, like it was supposed to work, but it wasn't working. And so I just kept insisting that this was the relationship and this was gonna work. Cause you're Virgo. He a Virgo, he a Virgo, whatever, right? But I insisted the relationship was gonna work. And what happened is ultimately became the most painful relationship I was ever in, and literally almost brought me to the brink of insanity. Why? Because what I kept doing was trying to insist that this had to be what it was. I had what you said, I had one concept of what this should look like. And what I was supposed to do was get out of it what I learned out of it and keep moving.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, no, you're supposed to be here for life. This is supposed to be for life.
Let me show you. Let me show you something. Everybody has a cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to navigation on that cell phone, I'm gonna show you the most logical thing that nobody pays attention to.
What's that?
They have a car, a bus, a bike,
Walking.
and a walk.
They do, right?
They have 4 different ways to get
to
where you
to the
need to
same
get.
spot. They sure do.
So
They sure
that
do.
right there it's so simple.
Oh my God, it is.
That we never really looked at it and see it for what it is. Because I look at it every day, and the crazy thing is this: even on a car, you can hit the dots and do route, and then on the route it'll say highways, no highways, terrain.
Oh wow.
And valley.
It's
And
options.
It's options. So that right there brought you even more. So when you say you want to get somewhere and you don't want to be on a freeway because it's crowded, you punch no highways.
Oh, wow.
And it would direct you by street to where you need to go and how long it takes to get there. So logically thinking, guess what? You got it in your hand. The
See.
different options of doing everything. That's why they say logical is not so logical all the time.
Yeah,
If
common
you
sense
stuck
ain't
to
so
one-
common. Look,
Right.
right. If you and
Not black and white.
okay, they blend to make what color? They blend to make gray. They blend to make gray. But that's something else because there are options, and we don't often. We wanna see it happen this way. Think about it like this.
A lot of people won't ask people for help. You know, when I was young, I wouldn't tell anybody I couldn't read.
Right.
You know what I mean? That just wasn't gonna happen. But I'm 72 now. I don't have a problem. If I'm in a store and I'm looking for something,
You just ask.
I'll ask anybody. I'll tell them straight up, hey, I can't read. Could you help me?
Right. And see, that is one of the most powerful lessons too, is that when you ask for help, you will find that there's usually somebody willing to help, you know, and it's just that you have to be willing to be vulnerable enough to let somebody help, to even know that you need some help. But again, all of that comes from your self-concept, your
People
self-esteem.
automatically figure I can read.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And then when you say it to them, they look at you like,
Oh.
and that's why when I was young, I wouldn't do it, right?
Well, see, and I also think,
And then if somebody, when I was
let me
young,
tell you, I got a theory
would
about
make
that
fun
too.
of me, I'd
I got a theory about that too. Part of the reason when you were young is you still felt like at some way there was something to prove to somebody at some level, right? Now you old and you don't give a shit whether they like it or don't. Like, cause you know, I know for myself, as I get older, I just don't care so much what people think. Like, you know, it's just not as
you
important
can
to
like
me.
me or dislike me.
Yeah, it's okay. Like me or dislike me, have it your way, whatever that is, I'm okay with that. Because I don't have anything left. I don't have a lot left to worry about what you going through and how you feel about my choices that I make for my life. Because you know, when you young, okay, for example, I didn't want the relationship I mentioned a minute ago, I didn't want nobody to know that it wasn't working. Why? Who did I know that didn't had never had a failed relationship?
But that's not how you feel.
But it wasn't at being young. I was in my 20s. But see, at almost 60, I just don't really care about what you think about my choices of who I might get in a relationship with, what choices I might make for what I want to do with my house or what I want to do for the holidays or any of that kind of stuff. I'm just not concerned at this point. And whether it may be the fact that I'm old enough that it just doesn't matter anymore. I've come to the realization that as long as I'm taking care of my responsibility, I'm not asking you to finance or facilitate my choices, then I get to make them choices. You know, one of the things my mother used to say when we were little, and I thought I understood it when she said it, but it wasn't until I got older that I really began to understand it. And it was, she used to say, I pay the cost to be the boss around here.
Yep.
But she had a little stank on it. Her little head would wobble. I pay it. And I'd be like, okay, you know, okay. But until you start paying the cost to be the boss, okay, yeah, it do take on a whole different thing, because guess what? I bought my house, I'm paying for it, I keep it up, all of that kind of stuff. So what would I care about what somebody else thinks about what I do at my home? It's like, cause you're not facilitating nothing. In fact, when I remodeled it, my brother's friend came and I hadn't got the hardwood floors shined up yet. And he was like, now you got to redo your floors. And I was like, no, I don't. He said, well, you can't have the rest of the house all new. And what? I said, yes, I can. You know why? Because the only person opinion who matter here is mine.
Yeah.
Anybody come up in this piece right here and they are so offended by the fact that the floors wasn't redone when the rest of the house is done, they can let the doorknob hit them with a quickness, and I just don't care. You know what I mean? And it wasn't even being mean or boastful or nothing, but it was like, no, this is my opinion is the only one that matters. But I come to the conclusion that there's something about aging that, you know, you talk about the grumpy old man and the grumpy old lady down the street.
Aging helps you grow.
Well, what it does is it help you. I read a book and it was give less fucks. Okay, I have no fucks left to give. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? And that was the title of the book. So it's like, yeah, I literally learned just not to give a fuck. I don't give a fuck what you. It's that I just don't. I recognize that my existence and what I do and my choices are not.
As long as you're
depending
not
upon
hurting nobody else.
exactly, as long as I'm not hurting nobody else, and as long, like I say, I'm not asking you to facilitate
Yeah.
my choices. Like, so I heard a story about a girl, her sister had her go out of town with her, but really, supposedly for her birthday, but really what it was is that her sister needed to use her as an excuse to sneak away for the weekend. And she wound up going away and then spending time with some guy instead of with her sister for her birthday. Well, that's not right. That's, you know what I'm saying? You using me to facilitate something you're not even telling me about, getting me involved in. And now if the sister just went on her own, then that's something different.
Yeah.
But don't involve me. So I feel like as long as I'm not, like you say, hurting anybody, especially consciously hurting somebody, that's a terrible thing. And speaking of that, in relationship to the topic on self-esteem, what I find is people who have low self-esteem tend to be the most cruel people. They get to be users. They are constantly trying to make somebody else feel less than in order for them to feel better. They like to blame other people and all of that, and they like to put people down so that they can feel above them, when all they really got to do is look at themselves for who they are and improve on their own self-esteem and their own self-worth. And then they would feel better about themselves and the other people. Because if you have a negative self-concept and you constantly looking at things from a negative standpoint, all you see when you see somebody else is negative. Everything you do, I'm going to look at it through a negative lens, or I'm going to look to find the negativity in it.
I believe that what you're saying is true, but I believe as long as I'm not hurting you or hindering you, I am who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I will not change for nobody. And I don't want to change for nobody. But I will not disrespect you,
Right.
unless you disrespect me. And then if you disrespect me, then it's a whole nother ball game, because then from that point,
Well, then we in a different
stay,
place.
You stay the hell away from me, and I'll stay the hell away from you.
And that's the easiest thing to do, is that when you understand that once disrespect has entered into exchange, it is best to stay away from each other.
Yes.
Because I know I'm not going to tolerate it, and I would expect that you're not going to tolerate it, and there can only be a clash from there. But the most important thing is to make sure that, again, we're feeding our, and I said this earlier, I wish that parents would begin to feed their children and realize that just because they're infants and they're young doesn't mean that you're not building. I look at kids like a suitcase. Whatever you put in them is what they're going to have for their life's journey. This is what they're going to have on their way for wherever they have to go. So what tools are you putting in there for them to use to take on that journey? And for me, one of the things with my son was always to tell him the truth. Because if I'm telling him lies, even if it didn't make me look good, if whatever the question was that he asked, I endeavored to tell him what was true versus what I might want it to look like. Why? Because number one, I feel like the truth always comes out. It's always going to come out in the wash.
It's going to get you in the ass.
Yeah, one way or another, it's going to show up. You can't, because it really is what it is. And so I always try to tell him the truth, even if it was age appropriate stuff. Like he was like 10 years old I was taking him to football practice, and he's in the back seat of the car, and he's getting ready, changing his clothes, and he said, "Mommy, when am I going to get my sperm?" Not that I'm planning on using it, and I'm thinking, thank goodness for that. And of course, now he's behind me like they are, and I'm going, oh, because what the hell? Okay, so, and like I said, he was quick to say, not that I'm planning on using it. No, he was thinking he was planning on using it, right? Otherwise, why was he thinking about it? In fact, I got to ask him about that now. Why was he thinking about it, right? But what I did was I had to think fast. And what I told him, I said, okay, the best thing for you to do is to ask your dad, because I don't have any. I said, but I do think that what I understand, it comes in about 12 years old, right? That was the truth. I do think it's about 12, but I can't guarantee that. And again, I don't have none. So take what I say with a grain of salt, because I don't have no damn sperm, okay? Right. and thank goodness for that. You know what I'm saying? But again, it was age appropriate, and I told him the truth.
Did you tell him there was no Santa Claus?
We never practiced. I never celebrated Christmas in my house. And my mother and other relatives celebrated Christmas. So what I told them, that was the one thing I told them they could not do. They could not tell him Santa Claus. Whatever you're going to tell him, you bought this is what you wanted him to have. I would never allow anybody to teach him Santa Claus.
I told my kids, people thought I was wrong, because I told my kids when they were very young.
You got to speak up so they can hear you.
I said, people told me I was wrong, because I told my kids very early on there is no Santa Claus.
Well, and listen, and I could tell you, my son turned 38 on Saturday, and I haven't seen any signs of distress in him, having never been told about Santa Claus or none of that, or, me telling him the truth.
The event of the people doing that in that manner, it builds you up to you feel that you always have to perform something on this day. And that's not right.
Yeah, no.
You're not always going to have money to do the things that you've been growing up and you've been seeing and you've been hearing about. So don't make a myth that is not true for people to live up to.
Well, it's funny you say that, because when he was young, of course, I didn't have a career. And I hadn't built up enough. I haven't built up enough yet to actually make enough money, so every Christmas time would come, I remember thinking, oh, I'm so glad I don't do this. Like, I'm not under pressure. I would see my coworkers, colleagues and stuff going into debt on credit cards and stuff like that to provide for their kids something. And the cold part is, for the most part, all them toys and different things that you bought the kids, they didn't play with anyway.
Exactly. That day, that week is over.
And it was over.
Over.
You were going to say something.
Yeah, and if you ain't got no money, blame it on Santa Claus.
Oh, see.
That some bitch didn't show up.
He didn't show up. Oh, well, he missed our address. No, listen, listen. But for me, that was, well, and see now what you just said about no chimney, right? Think about all the kids that were smart enough to question that.
That didn't have a chimney.
Think about the ones who was asking themselves, wait a minute, how's he gonna get in my house if he come down a chimney and we don't have no chimney?
Exactly.
Like, there would always be questions. When I was young, I had older sibling. I was the youngest. So of course my cousin, she felt it was her job to disavow me of any notion of Santa Claus. Ain't no Santa Claus. All your gifts in the closet. Come, let me show you. And there they were. Right. So, but for me, I was, like I say, with my son, I just wanted him to know what was real. But I want us to keep pride. I want you to realize too, you can take pride in those things that you do well. Take pride in those things, because okay, so for those of you who might have missed it, I was all excited because I got some things put back in place and got some projects finished. When getting one task finished builds the momentum, it gives you the motivation to keep moving to do the next thing. So if you find out that you're good in math, or you found out you were good at plumbing, right? That was just something you were good at. So you didn't mind doing that. You would always find more creative ways to do plumbing and those kinds of things. And so you could take pride in your ability to do those things. And those things help to feed into your self-esteem. In this, the way that, and the reason this is all important in the context of Free to Heal is because all of us have been subjected to a system that was designed to destroy us mentally. Even those of us that were coming to visit, or those of us that were loved ones that were trying to support somebody who was incarcerated, we were treated as criminals. We were searched, we were denied entry for the slightest of reasons. We were talked to like we had done something.
What are you here for?
Yeah, and it was horrible. Like the second time I went to visit my friend, and I had on a shirt, and we just sitting there talking, and I turned this way, and the shirt slid down a little bit, and the female CO comes by, and she's like, "It is not okay with me that your boobies are showing." And I'm like, I don't even know what she's talking about. And I looked down, and it slid over a little bit, and I said, "Oh my God, I didn't even have no idea. I know what goes on around here." Well, that pissed me off.
Yes.
Because you don't know me. And that's what I told her. Yeah, but you don't know me. So don't talk to me that way. And then he was like, calm down, because she'll stop our visit. She'll end our visit. So it's little things like that where the system, it's a lot of things they do.
Visit at 8 and they know you come on a regular, they gonna make sure you get in later. It's a lot of things they do.
It's a power
that you don't
trip.
wanna come.
Right. And it's a power struggle. But guess what? This is our self-concept and our self-esteem is tied. We got to break from the things that they may have fed to us during that time.
You ever heard about that college that they built a small prison inside?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, this was a college thing, and they took a class, and they made half of the class prisoners.
Mm-hmm.
They made the other half guards,
Mm.
and this was supposed to go on for 90 days. In about 3 weeks, they had to close it down
Why?
because the convicts were trying to kill the guards, and
Uh-huh.
the guards were mistreating the convicts.
Wow. Wow.
It was a power thing, and
Yeah.
it couldn't make the 90 days because it was a point
Out of
that
control.
somebody was going to physically get hurt.
That's something I'm going to have to look up, because that's the kind of information that I think we should have and be able to share on Free to Heal, so that people understand it. Because guess what? However long ago that happened, they know what the
System is.
they know what the prison system is, and they also know the effects of what they're doing. They're not confused, or it's just a byproduct and they don't know what happens.
I think it was
They
done at
know.
Berkeley.
Okay, I'm gonna try to see, but they know what happens to people when they do things. And it was the one thing for me that always concerned me was not even the physical incarceration was bad, the food bad, all those kinds of things. That ugly blue denim that the women had to wear was bad. Okay, but it was the unnecessary psychological torture and warfare between the staff, police staff, and the inmates that just wasn't necessary. And quite frankly, there were some civilian staff and even a couple of guards that were like, this is just not right. It's very difficult, and they become in danger. They can be put in danger for not going along with the program. But again, that's why this group is so important, is because we got to give people information and things that they can work on. So in other words, in order to heal, why we got to talk about what you think about yourself. We got to talk about the things you can work on. If you have a low self-esteem or a poor self-concept, how do you take care of yourself physically? Can you improve how you take care of yourself? Can you learn something new? Can you do more of what you're good at? Can you be proud of your abilities? These are the things that you can focus on, like it's step by step by step, actual tools you can use to help you be better in today's time. And because we got to get past the hurt. A lot of times people hold on to the hurt and the pain like it's a badge of honor. They hurt me. Okay, but then just let it go. Right? Yeah, they hurt you, but you let it go. Let it go and move on. Choose. Happiness is a choice, y'all. Happiness is a choice, okay? Happiness is a choice. Choose you this day what you're gonna serve. You're gonna still be mean and upset and hurt and living in pain. Then that's a choice you make. Because listen, life ain't been no crystal stairs for nobody. Even people born into wealth and all these kinds of things and the privilege, a lot of them are miserable. Because happiness is not about material things. It's not about what you have and don't have. The majority of the people that I know, we were quote unquote poor growing up, but we didn't even know we was poor. We didn't know we was poor. We had to get out to the rest of the world and find out that we was poor. We did.
Get a family.
Listen, I'm telling you. And when I would cry to go to my neighbor's house so we could be piled 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 deep, sleeping on the floor with a blanket just to be around our friends, that was rich. That was wealthy for us. You see what I'm saying? And we look forward to that time. We always had enough to eat in those moments. And when Thanksgiving and Christmas would come, you know, so we didn't know that we were poor. So again, and think about this, poor being a state of mind.
Thank you. I was about to say that.
Poor is a state of mind.
You can get out of that.
I remember we used to sit up, and my father used to go to work. He worked for RTD.
Mm-hmm.
He would go to work, he'd come back, and give my mama a check. She paid the bills. And by the time that she paid the bills, it wasn't really nothing left. You know what I mean? So ice cream man come, my dad reaches his pocket like he got big money. Ain't nothing but a pocket full of change, and he buys the ice cream. But we felt like we was rich. It wasn't rich, it was necessities. All the necessities were paid.
Right.
And a lot of us didn't have enough to really, because you Peter Pan Paul, I'll pay him this month, but I gotta pay him next
And
month.
maybe put a little something on it for Jay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Give him a little something on it, you know.
And I didn't know, I was a kid. I didn't know what poor, you know, wasn't nobody tripping off of me because he said something about my clothes, I'm gonna fight you.
See.
I had tough skin patches in them, but go outside, they be like, you
Hey.
got tough skin. I said, man, these are play clothes.
Let me just tell you this too. Hey, can I just tell y'all a pair of Tough Skins? Tough Skins was good quality stuff while y'all playing, right? They may not have been cool, but let me tell you something. Them Tough Skins up out of Sears, they was going to last, okay? And like you say, with a patch on them, put a patch, man, they good for another couple of years. I don't know what you talking about. And look, lucky to have them. You said something, Mr. Terry?
They were the best tennis shoes you ever put out.
Come on, man. Why they playing? Why they playing? You know what I mean? It didn't have to be what everybody else thought it was. But I think it's just, again, it's the state of mind. It's what we think about ourselves and what we think about our circumstances. And I'm going to give everybody a chance to chime in for me. I'm going to start with you, Kit. Kittredge, can you unmute? All right, Mr. Steffens, we're gonna go to you then.
Okay,
Yeah,
no.
Oh, wait, Mr. Steffens, he got it.
Can you hear me?
I sure can.
Okay, and listen, I don't care what y'all say. There was a Santa Claus till I was old enough to find out there wasn't no Santa Claus. And the hell with
He
y'all.
was your partner? He was your partner?
I love Santa Claus, and I don't care what y'all think.
Wait, but look, hey, Kit, was he your partner? Did he leave? Did he come faithfully?
Hey, look, for a long time, me and Santa Claus were best friends in the whole world.
No, tight, huh?
I'll be good from December 1st until December 25th.
Hey, kid. I got one question for you.
Yeah,
Did you have a fireplace in your house?
sure did.
We didn't have one, so I still
Sure did.
Santa Claus got in my house and the door was
Spirit.
Well, you got to
But
know,
he was still your partner, Kit. That's all right. He came and took care of you, huh?
and I don't care what nobody say. Every year, I still got that joy just from being a kid.
That's all right. I appreciate that. Mr. Steffens, how about you?
Yes, Ms. Lorraine, what we're talking about tonight is so great. You know, I was raised in the South in the 50s, and the morale was very low with the adults as well as the children. We were taught that our input wasn't worth anything. What we wanted to do, we couldn't do. what we wanted to say, we couldn't say. And it wasn't until 1978 until we heard a speech by Malcolm X. And Malcolm X talked about how beautiful your wide nose was, how beautiful your thick lips were, how beautiful your kinky hair was, you know. And those people in the South, those white people did a job on colored people. And for a long time, I thought that my input was worthless. You know, it took me almost 30 years to crawl up out of that hole to realize that, hey, I'm worth something. I'm worth something even to myself. And then I start believing in myself. I start believing in I could love myself. I start believing I can love someone else, you know, and I do appreciate so much that you talk about the two concepts. Talked about you have to be willing to give yourself a chance to believe. And I want to thank you for that. Thank you for letting me speak.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, my goal is always to talk about those things because we have talked for months about the pain and what happens and how we got, you know, we've talked about what happens in the institutions. You know, we've had conversations about stuff like that, people's journey to incarceration, everything. And I want to make sure that at some point along the way, we are talking about, like I said, practical steps, things you can use, concepts you can put into your everyday practice that help you get from the wounded person and the scars and stuff into the person that you really are. Because all of us are magnificent in our own right. Everybody. It doesn't matter. I may not be magnificent like Di and have a nice little bun on top of my head, but I'm magnificent because I have a nice collar. You see what I'm saying? It don't matter. You can always find something about yourself that you can appreciate. And if you can't, then that's the work that needs to be done first, is to find out for yourself. Mr. Terry, please go ahead and give us some comments and thoughts.
Noreen, self-esteem I had a lot of. You know, I heard that, you know, you can't be this, you can't do that. Man, I shocked everybody. You know, I went into that guard school and got every test. I only missed 2 out of over 200 and some questions and did everything I could. I took electronics in prison and got good grades in electronics. Plumbing, electrical, sheetrock, masonry, carpentry. I did over 350 books and did every one of them perfectly. I said, I got self-esteem because I wanted to make the best out of everything I do. And when I was on the street,
and that's just wonderful. And see, again, no matter what was told to you early on or what concepts were given to you, when we talked about self-concept, you can shape that self-concept by the things that you do. And that's what you did through educating yourself and even with the guard school. And it's, again, why I like to have these conversations, because these are practical things you can do. And I think, like I told you before, you know, you on the handsome side and all that, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like you should have that good self-esteem. And now you're getting ready to get your guard card, you handling all of your classes, finishing stuff, and every success builds on the last success. So I'm tickled for you, okay? I'm tickled for you. And I don't care what you got something smart to say back there?
Who?
Oh, who? The owl on your left shoulder?
he's my roommate.
Okay. These two right here, they nothing but trouble. I'm just telling y'all. Do you see them? They
I know
nothing
the
but
one on
trouble.
the left side's trouble.
Huh?
I know the one on your left side's trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. He look, people, yeah, you.
What about it, Terry? I
Yeah,
keep it one bit.
Yeah, you. Thanks,
It's
Mr.
for
Terry. Mr.
myself.
Charles. Talk to me. Talk to me.
Who?
Mr. Charles.
Oh,
Yes, ma'am. How are you this evening?
All right. How are you?
Oh, I'm blessed. I'm blessed for sure.
Any comments on the topic for the evening?
Self-esteem, rather complicated subject
Can be.
because a lot of our self-esteem is hooked to traumas. And there are intergenerational traumas that most people don't realize or know anything about that affects us today from a whole long time ago.
Yeah.
So self-esteem is the elephant in the room. I mean, if you really want to get down to it, because like I said, it can go a long way back, and you not know where it came from, let alone how to identify it.
Oh my God, yes.
So it takes a lot of work, you know, I mean, when you even question your self-esteem. If it's in question, then you have a problem. And
in most people that it's in question, even if they appear outwardly confident about everything, it's because it's always in flux. It can always,
yeah,
because it has two elements. One, how you think about yourself, and then the respect you get from other people. So all it is always up for grabs on any particular day, in any particular given set of circumstances.
and like you said, the older you get, the less fucks you have, you know. And
Yeah.
that's, you know, another side of self-esteem. However, the most important thing for us is to acknowledge that it can be questionable, very questionable, because of the little things that are packed into that suitcase that we don't realize we pack in,
Even though they were
or
in there,
somebody
because
packed
somebody else put
for
them in
us.
there. Because somebody else put them in there.
Yeah. And you know, they surface at later on in life, and you don't even know or even realize you have them.
Yeah.
So it's something that I think should be kept in immediate focus at all times, and if necessary, worked on at all times, just like a relationship.
That's a fact. That's a fact. And listen, because it's the most important relationship you're ever gonna have is the one with yourself, right? And so, and what you think about yourself, what you tell yourself about yourself, how you relate to yourself, all of that, how you esteem yourself, all of that goes into it. And the crazy part about it is that then it is the projection into every other relationship. It literally is the thing itself.
Ironically enough, I just had this conversation a couple, maybe an hour or two ago, which is why I was a little late, with my brother-in-law. And we came to the conclusion, I already knew it, but that everything starts at home.
Oh my goodness.
Everything.
It's all an inside job, ain't it?
Love, hate, prejudice, except I don't care what it is, it starts at home. And if you can't be in control of your home, then you can't let anyone else be in control of your home or anything that comes out of your home.
Let me tell you something. When I was talking earlier about that relationship, that was one of the things that I realized is that I gave that person the power, my power, to make me feel happy or sad, up or down, good or bad. Like, and it was like, wait a minute, the reason this is all messed up is because you gave him a power he don't have no business having. You were supposed to keep that for yourself. That was your job. I was the one giving it up, and it was like, no. He don't know what to do with it. He got to figure out what to do with his own. How he gonna take care of yours and his? But I gave him all of that power, and again, it almost led me to the brink of insanity, because me not take care of home was a problem.
That's one of the things.
You know, the man over here talking about. We're gonna get back to him talking about my insanity and how.
That's one of the things I keyed in on to do 35 years, is that I can only do E34112. I can't do anybody's A or B or D. E34 is more than enough for me to deal with.
That's right.
And that takes up all my energy. That's all I'm gonna deal with.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I want to get the peanut gallery since this one here got so much to say on the side.
Absolutely.
Good night,
Okay,
Noreen.
just a second. Do you have anything you want to share with the group?
I need a helper.
He over here talking about me being insane and how short a ride that is. Darling, any comments from you, please, dear? Good. You, sir, last comments from you?
Just remember, your self-esteem is not your ego.
That's totally different.
It's not your ego. Check it at the door.
Okay, darling? No, ma'am?
Tonight conversation was another one eye opener. It was good to hear from everybody again.
Appreciate y'all. I appreciate everybody. Please join us every week. Free to Heal. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. And we'll see you guys next week. Everybody have a good Thanksgiving. Bye.